Hello everyone and welcome to a Readathon wrap-up. This one is for the Hunger Games Readathon. This was a team-based Readathon and I was sorted onto District number 9. I don't remember the placings. Most of the time my team was kind of right in the middle, so still, either way, it was fun. There were a bunch of prompts, so I'm not going to go over every single prompt in this video. I'm just going to tell you the category the prompt was under and then which prompt I completed in whatever category. So at least tell you the categories and then how many prompts there were. Let's go ahead and get into this. So the first category was the pre-games, and you can do these in any order. So the first prompt was reaping. Select a book from a TBR at random. I just reached back and grabbed it. So that was random enough. I went with Caution Tape, evidently. Caution Tape by Molly Doyle and J.D. Midight. This is very much adult. It is a romance between two serial killers. It does get gory. There is animal death in this. Shedding blood and hurting people is a big sexual turn-on for the two individuals in this. And it's just a romance between the two. They're trying to decide if they can touch or trust each other. Touch each other. Of course they touch each other. It's an explicit romance. They're trying to decide if they can trust each other, to how far they can trust each other, and trying to convince themselves that it is okay to give in to their serial killer instinct desires. So that's what it is. It is very dark, and again, very serial killer and a lot of blood, very sexually explicit. I gave this one 4 stars. It was 276 pages. The next prompt under the pre-games I completed was the Training Center. This is to read a genre you typically wouldn't read. I typically don't read nonfiction, so I went with a nonfiction, and the one I went with is actually a poetry collection. I went with Oh, It's You by Francesco Marciuliano. I know I said that wrong, I'm sorry. This is a collection of poetry, all from the cat's perspective. I mean, that's literally all it is. It was 111 pages. I gave it 5 stars. It was very cute, just of what the cat expects from you throughout their life in poetry format. So not much to say about that because that's all it is. Next prompt under pre-games is interviews. This is to read a book that was written or recommended by a favorite author. I went with Night Games by R.L. Stine. Why did I do that one? Written by a favorite author. Duh. R.L. Stine is one of my favorite authors. The Fear Street books. R.L. Stine's the one that got me into reading. And this is a young adult horror thriller. This one we're following a group of teenagers who are about juniors and seniors in high school here in the U.S. That's the, so it's about 17, 18 years old. And they meet up in past midnight or right around midnight, and they go and do some pranks, and the pranks get more and more serious to the point like if they were arrested, they'd be arrested for not only like trespassing and mischief, but probably like vandalism, breaking and entering, things like that, tampering with evidence. So the pranks get more and more severe, and that's all it is. So it's a young adult horror. And then the last prompt under pre-games was Making Allies, and this is to read a book with a found family. I went with Christmas at Copper Mountain by Jane Porter. This is a romance. There is a sexually explicit scene in it, but it's more on the tame and mild side. This was 147 pages. I gave this 4 stars, and it is a Western romance that takes place around Christmas. Grief is a big part of this. The main female that we're following has lost people that she cares about, so there's loss of loved ones, and she's trying to mourn but also give herself permission to love again. And then the man that we are following has 2 kids. They are twins, a boy and a girl, and so he is also trying to let himself have feelings again and kind of just allow themselves to experience those feelings. So as I said, you have loss of loved ones as far as loss of partners. You also have loss of children in this. The next category is Survive the Arena. I did Bloodbath. This is to read a horror or a splatterpunk. I read a horror called Pyrophobia, written by Jack Lance. This was 295 pages. I gave it 3 stars. It alluded on the synopsis that there could be some potential thing having to do with paranormal stuff. I wanted much more of that. So for me, it was just a little bit of a letdown, but it was still fun. This guy has pyrophobia, which is a fear of fires, and it can be very debilitating. You can't light candles or matches or anything around him, otherwise he can have a huge panic attack. He starts to get these Polaroids with this message saying, you're not who you think you are, you're dead, type of a thing. And so he's trying to determine if it is paranormal, if there is someone dropping hints because they know him, and there's things that he doesn't know that he may have forgotten or suppressed as far as memories go, or if someone is trying to send him clues that he is about to be killed. So, and he just delves into this. Number 3 is Find Supplies. This is to read a book from an author you've never read from before. I went with Alice by Christina Henry. This is not the romance author duo, okay? This was a horror retelling of Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland. I gave this 3 stars, 292 pages. It was dark. I felt like it could have gone just a little bit more with the gore, but it was still fun. And there's a lot of talk about possibly being like mentally, quote unquote, mentally unstable, because there is a bit where they're at a mental hospital. It's called an asylum in this, and it's the patients are treated very, very poorly. So I think more olden days type mental asylum. And the guy that she is with, I think he is the Mad Hatter. We don't really find out for sure, but I think he is the Mad Hatter. And they go, and the characters, like in the movie, the Disney's adaptation of Alice in Wonderland, like the little white rabbit that's just that little bunny hopping around with a clock saying, oh late, I'm late for a very important date or something like that. He's human in this book. So it's kind of like a species swap with a lot of it, although Alice is still human. There are fantastical elements. People do have magical abilities, so there are magicians as well. And Alice is basically owned by this white rabbit and wants to free herself. And so she's on the quest with this Mad Hatter type person to do that. Next up was Hunt for Food. This is to read a book with food on the cover. I went with The Sweetest Revenge by Lizzy Dent. This is a comedic romance. The language does get a little rough, but there is no open door sex. This I gave 4 stars. It was 350 pages. We have the main character Shelby, who is in America for the first 2 chapters, and then she's in London for the rest of the time. There is a point where she does come back to visit family in the US, but for the most part she is in London. She is there for work stuff, so she is working for a television company in London to help them out with things. And this guy that she had this issue with at the beginning of the book pops back up later in London. And then it's a wild ride as far as miscommunication between her and her current potential romantic interest and things like that. As far as the food on the cover, it's an alcoholic drink with a little olive on a toothpick. Make Fire. This is to read a book that has red, yellow, and or orange on the cover. I went with After Dark by Haruki Murakami. Gave this one 2 stars, 247 pages. It was magical realism, so right there says it is just not really my cup of tea. I tend to struggle a lot with magical realism, so this one was just not for me. It gave me the Truman Show vibes, which is the one that Jim Carrey starred in, but not quite as in-depth as that. There's a lot of, we're following this person as we zoom in from the television, and so I just had too many answers, or too many questions unanswered. I don't mind a cliffhanger, but I do like some things tied up, so it just was not my cup of tea. The edition that I read has red, yellow, and orange because it's like the static lines, colorful static lines on a TV, so yeah. And then the next prompt in this Survive the Arena is Fight a Mutt. This is to read a book where the main character has a pet. I went with How to Stop Time by Haig. This character can live for hundreds upon hundreds of years. If he's not immortal, he will eventually die, can be killed. He just kind of physically stops aging, at least externally. Internally, things are very much slowed down. Well, even externally, it's kind of really slowed down. For example, he can look like he's 18 years old for 300 years, and then all of a sudden he can start looking like he's 25 years old for another 300 years or something like that. So he can live for hundreds of years. It takes place in England, and the main character has a dog. So It takes place, it alternates between, not POVs, between timelines. We have the modern day time, which is when he has the dog, and then when he is reflecting and remembering events of the past, there is no animal. But the modern day, where he's teaching at a high school, he does have a dog, so that's what I went with. I gave this one 4 stars, 325 pages. The next category is the district prompts. I read the prompt for my team as well as district number 8. The prompt for District 8 was to read from a series that has more than 8 books. The one that I read was Carrots by Colleen Helme. This is an adult mystery. I gave this one 4 stars. It was 287 pages. This gal stops on her way home to get a thing of carrots to make like stew or something like that at home. There is a bank in this grocery store that she goes to. A armed robber comes in, starts to shoot, and she gets grazed by one of the bullets. And then once that happens, she starts to realize that she can hear people's thoughts. And so she has to learn when to keep her mouth shut and not react so that they don't catch on that she now has this ability. So that's pretty much all this is. As far as it being a series with 8 or more books, as of right now, there are 17 books in this series. So, and it was fun. District number 9 was to do a buddy or a group read. I did a group read for Tales from Two Trails, and my Team Elephants, our group read was The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, written by Robert Louis Stevenson. I gave this one 3 stars. It was 67 pages. I would have liked more and had this have been told from Dr. Jekyll / Mr. Hyde's POV, and I would have liked more from that rather than from other people looking and observing him. They're just talking about brief encounters that they had with him, so there was not a lot in depth as far as the complex character of Dr. Jekyll / Mr. Hyde, so I wanted more of that character. And then I also did District 12, which was to read a book that was less than 200 pages. I read Cassie's Secrets by Ophelia Bell, 181 pages, 4 stars, BDSM, erotica. This is a taboo romance between a stepdaughter and a stepfather, and it is a 3-way. So this is male, male, female. So she comes in late after curfew. She is 18. She has just graduated from high school, so she can give her consent. And she's going to be punished, so she can either be grounded for the summer or receive a spanking. So she says she's going to take the spanking so that she can be free all summer, get her punishment over with. So her stepdad says, well, you want the spanking? Then remove your pants and remove your underwear, bend over, and he's going to spank her bare butt. He does, and it turns them both on sexually, and all the sex ensues after that. Very sexually explicit. And then I missed, so the other categories were quote prompts. I did not do any of those. And then there was, I missed a prompt here. So the district prompts and survive the arena and pre-games. Okay, so I didn't miss anything, but I did miss one prompt. In the category Survive the Arena, there's also Find Shelter, and this is to read a book from one of your favorite genres. There's a lot of genres I like. I really like romance. I do like contemporary, historical fiction, dark romance, light and fluffy romance, mystery, horror, thriller, dystopian, apocalyptic. Yeah, I like a lot. So I decided to go with cozy mystery because I do really like cozy mystery. So I went with The Rocky Road to Ruin by Meri Allen. This one, the gal Riley Rhodes is home. She is taking a break from her job in the CIA. And yes, this is the federal government CIA stuff. So she's back in her house. And then she's also there because her friend's mother has passed away. And so she's there to support her friend. And then this guy ends up dead, and her friend is a suspect, and Riley doesn't like that, so she starts investigating herself and to try and clear her friend's name because she doesn't believe that her friend could do such an act as murder. Her friend owns an ice cream shop, and so Riley is going to help out at said ice cream shop, and then it just goes from there. So you don't have to worry about any violence. You don't have to worry, well, other than saying that someone is dead, but you don't have to worry about a lot of stuff like that, and you don't have to worry about sexually explicit context or language and anything like that, so, or rough language. So cozy mysteries are just fun, cozy reads for me. So I enjoyed that. 4 stars, 338 pages. So those are the books that I read for the Hunger Games Readathon. That is 3,287 pages. Divided by the 31 days that were in July, that is 106.03 pages per day. Or divided by the 14 books, it's 234.78 pages per day. So out of all those books, 1 book got a 2 star, 5 got 3 stars, 4 got, or not 4, 4 stars were a total of 7 books, and 1 book got a 5 star. So that's 50 stars issued. Divided by the 14 books, it is a 3.57 average. Let me know, have you read any of these books? Did you participate in the Hunger Games Readathon? And if you did, what team were you on? Let me know. Talk to me in the comment section below. And until next time, stay true to yourself and enjoy a good book. And I will talk to you later.